Today we go into uncharted territories. Tom Hanks is in a Western on Film Threat Reviews. I'm Alan Ng. I was Zorianna Kit, and today we review News of the World. A Civil War veteran agrees to deliver a girl taken by the Kiowa people years ago and deliver her to her aunt and uncle against her will. They travel hundreds of miles and face grave dangers as they search for a place that either can call home. This is written and directed by Paul Greengrass, stars Tom Hanks and Helena Zengel. Yeah, this is new territory for Tom Hanks. He seems to be trying to find stories that have never been told before. And this is, even though it's a Western, it's a story that I had never heard of. What did you think of News of the World?
Oh gosh, there's so much to like about this film. It does have that, to me, that sort of it's kind of like that perfect movie to watch over the Christmas holidays. There's a sense of comfort that you get in watching this movie, even though the setting, it's 5 years after the Civil War. There's so much unrest. Racism is alive and well. It's perilous territory, but when you know that you have Tom Hanks at the helm of this, you know that you're going to be okay, because Tom Hanks may be starring in a Western, but he still delivers what Tom Hanks is so good at delivering, which is that the good guy, the guy who always does the right thing, the guy that you can always count on coming through for you. And we've seen that in Mr. Rogers, in Sully, in Captain Phillips, that's
Greyhound, for that matter.
Greyhound most recently.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live jokes, the last time he was on, he was there as America's father. And he's earned that distinction. What's interesting about this story is he kind of plays the Walter Cronkite of the West, where he travels from town to town and then delivers the news to people in kind of a town hall setting. And
so interesting, right? Like, I'd never heard of that. That really, that was very fascinating to me.
It's hard to believe that kind of a job ever existed, but then when you see him do it, you realize, oh wow, that job must have existed.
Yeah.
And he plays America's father, and in this case, he takes it upon himself to deliver an orphan girl, and tries to not only deliver her to her family, but to do what's best for her well-being. And, that's, you brought it up. That's kind of the ultimate warm feelings you get from this film and from Tom Hanks, and all within a fairly Western setting. I haven't really seen a good Western in a long time. I shouldn't really say that, but it's been a while.
The thing that's fascinating about this movie is that it really is more like although it's in a Western setting, it definitely feels more like a road trip movie, because it's a road trip because Tom Hanks has this young girl and he has to take her cross country to deliver her to the only surviving relatives that she has. And so the film is more about their journey together and the things that they encounter. On a personal level, yes, you watch this relationship grow as they become closer. Tom Hanks doesn't speak a word of the tribal language that she spent her short life speaking. She doesn't speak any English, and they slowly learn each other's language, including German as well. They have nothing in common. He doesn't want that responsibility. She doesn't want to go with him, but they slowly form this bond. But really, she's the one who brings out his humanity. She's the one who gives him a purpose, because throughout his whole life, his character goes from town to town and isn't committed to anything, anyone. And here, for the first time, he does something noble because he knows it's the right thing to do, but his heart goes in it even further, to the point where it's now, like you said, America's father in this situation here. But the thing is the best parts of the film are the things that happen to them.
Yeah.
on this road trip. And
Yeah,
there's
and that's the Western element of it.
yes, exactly. And there's two amazing, amazing set pieces. You probably know what they are. If you want to go and talk about them, please go ahead.
Yeah, there are. There's a fight that he has with a gunfight that he has with kind of a small gang, and then a fight that he has with a very large gang. And I will say though, over the last decade or so, I would say since maybe Silverado, that the Western has gotten smaller in scale, where it's very close and uptight, and it really is about the guy on the horse doing whatever, and that's certainly the vibe here. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the economics of it all from a Hollywood standpoint. And so I do miss those olden days of that big, large Western. And then the other thing I'll say about this as a Western is, as much as I like the story, it is somewhat predictable. As things go along, he picks up a girl. They meet people who you think are not friendly, and they surprisingly are not friendly. And then what ultimately happens with the girl at the end, it's kind of like, well, yeah, we know where this is going. I say that only because it is somewhat predictable, but thankfully, to Paul Greengrass's credit, he tells the story very well.
Yes, it is a very simple story, but it's the performances. Like everyone is so understated, and I have to say, every character we meet, even if we meet this character for like 5 minutes and he's never seen again, they are so formed. Every character actor in here is incredible. In fact, it's like Paul Greengrass like assembled the best of the best. The score is amazing. The cinematography is stunning. The actors are perfection. Yeah. And so you're watching this film, and the setting is just glorious and vast. And, as much as it is a departure for Tom Hanks as a genre being Western, it's also a departure for Paul Greengrass. First of all, they worked together on Captain Phillips, so this isn't their first film. So
that was a pirate movie.
Yeah, but he also played a captain. He was a captain in both here. But Paul Greengrass, his style is more of that kind of gritty, handheld camera stuff that we saw in Captain Phillips, that he really nailed in the Bourne Identity franchise, that he did in United, was it Flight United or United 93? Yeah, United 93. And then just a couple of years ago, he did that movie 22 July. The cinematography is stunning. These gorgeous overhead shots of the Western plains. It's a departure from him. It's a departure for Paul Greengrass as well. And I just thought they just nailed it. They just did a great job. There were so many things to me that felt so relevant today, even though it was a period piece, and even though it harkens back to like the Civil War era. There is racism here. Not much has changed today. There is a major country divide in this movie. This is what we're experiencing today. And what I thought was really great was there's this whole business of fake news even then, because when Tom Hanks has to read the newspaper in this like really shady town run by this really shady guy, the guy wants him to read his own self-made newspaper, which is pure propaganda. And Tom Hanks refuses to, which causes one of the major set pieces conflicts in the film.
Well, he does it in such an interesting way that, going into that, what's happening.
Yeah.
In the most unpredictable moment of the movie, he gets himself out of that situation in a way that's just brilliant.
Yes, exactly.
And to its core, strip away the period and everything, it's really a celebration of storytelling. This idea of a man coming in to share with a small part of the world what's happening with the rest of the world, and then bringing people together like that. You mentioned that one moment of propaganda, but he uses that moment to bring people that he is not necessarily connected with or have something in common with, and find a commonality with that. And I think ultimately that's the point of the movie.
So I really enjoyed this film. It's a definite recommend for me.
I'm thinking you really liked it.
I
You
did.
just loved every aspect of it. So I'm going to guess a 9.
You know, I'm giving it an 8.5. But you know, it is up there for me. It just really just. I'm not a fan of Westerns. I wasn't like, you know, jumping to go and see this movie, but I was, even if you're not a fan of Westerns, don't let that deter you from seeing this movie, because it's really not about the genre per se. It's about the internal story that takes place between these two characters, between Tom Hanks and the little girl, and the external journey that they go on, which is extremely visual and exciting and has you sitting on the edge of your seat. I don't think you liked it as much as I did. I think you gave it an 8. I think you enjoyed it. I think you respected it a lot, but I'm not sure that you were as gung ho as I was.
Yeah, probably not as gung ho, but an 8 is right. I do miss the Westerns, and I think this captures it in a way that tries to be politically correct. And you know, I had some quibbles with that, but that's super minor. But I do like Westerns as a setting, because there's a sense of lawlessness that goes on, and forcing people to come out and stand for their principles and live and die by their principles. And this movie definitely does that. And it forces, you know, it's like he's alone. He has to make tough decisions, and there's no one around who's going to help him make those decisions or deal with the consequences of those decisions. And I think that's the appeal of Westerns in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So with that, be sure to like, subscribe, comment below on what you thought of News of the World. Love to hear that. And with that, let's get out of here.